Welcome to Soul Healing for Empathic Entrepreneurs. Today's topic is the Empath's Guide to Achieving Goals. The Empath's Guide to Achieving Goals. And I want to give you a very simple map that I utilize with all of our clients. And the thing that I always talk about is that our biggest asset is the asset to be able to feel. So if you're here live, hashtag live. If you're here for the replay, hashtag replay. I want to hear your insights, your comments, your questions, and I promise I'll answer them after the training. So our biggest asset as an empath is our ability to feel. So that means from a sense perception, from a mental perception, from an energetic perception, whether we know it or not, we are able to feel everything. And if we understand how to utilize that asset, it can really propel us into the experience, into the life, into the business that we want. Now, if we have a lack of understanding of our greatest gift, it can lead us into overwhelm because, of course, if we're able to take in all the information, if we're able to take in all the sense perceptions in our body, if we're able to take in all the emotions, if we're able to take in all the energy around us, and we don't know how to hone that, then it can overwhelm the systems. So I want to give you a very easy, clear path. Well, I wouldn't say easy, but a path to being able to achieve your goals as an empath, because we do function differently, especially when we are feelers, because it's very different from someone who is a little bit more in their what we call in the mental intelligence center, and so their capacity there might be really strong and great and analytical, and so we have that too, but we also have our bodies and our energy, and all of that is taking in information. So the first part of the map for an empath to achieve their goals is number one, and you're going to take this in and you might think, oh, this is so obvious, is to get grounded in the body. Now, knowing something and actually practicing strategic methods to be in the body, activating, down regulating, knowing how to direct our energy, knowing how to take things in and receive, knowing how to direct, where we want to go, knowing how to be in the all, like all of that requires us to stay grounded in the body. And that happens through the physical movement of the body. And there are directions. There's down, there's up, there's back, there's front, there's sides. So there's many different directions. And if we are not consciously choosing how we ground the body, because there's many strategies, and you're doing it, I'm sure you're doing it on your regular basis, whether you have some kind of dance movement practice, some kind of training practice, some kind of sports or athletic, you are grounding in the body. Now, when we ground in the body as an empath, how we can kind of heighten our ability is making conscious choices. So it's like we can feel all of these things, but sometimes we don't actually consciously choose where we want to put our energy. So it's like if we walk into a room with a lot of people, we are taking in everything. We are kind of like very aware of the room. We're taking in everybody's energy, everyone's emotions. And again, we might not mentally know that, and we might not mentally feel that. And we might even be charged by it, and it's great. But it's also good to be aware of it so that we know how to handle that energy, because sometimes it can be too much for the systems. So it's instead of being too much, we can actually take it in and receive and know, okay, if I'm so much, what I call, there's three different intelligence centers in the body. There's your mind, right? The mental intelligence center. There's your emotion and your heart. And then there's the physical body. And we can, in any given moment, start to see, okay, which part of what's dominant right now? Because if we're very much up here and we're in a room, it's like we're scanning everything through our mind. Or if we're very much in our emotions, we may be perceiving things through our own grief or through our own sadness or through our own joy or through our own kind of doubt and shame. Or if we're very much in the body, we can be very much like, woo, with everybody and feeling everybody. But if we don't have a sense of our own frame and our sense of our own vertical access, then by the end of the night, we can be depleted. So that's why it's important to, I'm saying this broad brush term of getting grounded in the body, but that's step number one. And if you were to work with me, we'd start to work very specifically and strategically of all the different directions that the body can take, and learn, when it's, too high or too low or too much to the side, or in those different intelligence centers. There's many maps to the body, but that's one of them to consider because, for example, one of my clients, every time she got on a call with me, the first thing she would do is like, okay, well, I have this problem and I'm too sensitive and I'm too reactive and I have that, and that affects my work. And it's like, whoo, so much forward direction and so much energy in the mental intelligence center. And so, she needed to ground that energy because it was just going off and all she was seeing was the problem-solving reality. And if we are only in the mental center and what I call, we have the left and the right brain, our problem-solving reality, that's all we see. Do you see? So we're not necessarily consciously choosing to be in that direction, but and as an empath, it's like, oh, we're downloading it all and seeing it, and the energy is moving forward and it's really fast and we're seeing the future, right? So we needed to first let that kind of ventilate and then come back in the body. And not that we had to, sometimes we think, oh, okay, we got to stop doing that. No, it's, can we take that energy that is very, very valuable and learn how to alchemize it, right? Take that energy and alchemize it back into the body. So we had to do a lot of grounding exercises so that the speed of the mind and the energy of the body started to kind of oscillate and work together. And the feeling and the emotions started to work together. And so the second part of the map, after getting grounded in the body, I can talk for days about that, is gaining mental clarity. Okay, because as an empath, we have a big, vast space up in the mental intelligence center, and we can really kind of, sometimes we'll have these visions, or we can really take, in life, right, from everywhere. And so it's important to learn how to gain mental clarity, so to be able to create space and clarity in the mind, because if there's too much download of information from outside, too much download from information from the past, too much download from the future, we can't necessarily hear our own clarity and our own intuition. Because I know you guys have experienced this where all of a sudden, sometimes you have just like these intuitive hits like, oh, go do this, go do that. And you listen to that and you're like, whoa, okay, that served me. Or what you maybe consider like, oh, okay, that served my higher self, right? Oh, okay. So if we are not able to kind of clear the mental scape of where all this information is coming from, because we can take it all in, right? Take it all in from the internet, take it in from our brothers and sisters, take it in from our past, take it in, then we're unable to hear our own clarity. So we want to gain mental clarity so that we can listen and hear to our own knowing and our own intuition. And intuition is simply remembering the past and remembering the future differently. What you've always known to be true, and what you see in the future to be true as well. So that's what intuition is. Everyone has it. And as an empath, we can have this kind of a little bit of a heightened sensitivity to it, because we sometimes get those flashes because our receptors are open. So sometimes it happens where, let's say, if you don't have a practice, it will happen when you're not in survival mode. So like, whatever, if you're doing something that doesn't put you in survival mode, maybe for you, it's just like you're cleaning your house, or you're taking a shower or something like that. And boom, all of a sudden you have what do you call it? Like the answer to the question you were asking. Did that ever happen to you? Right. And the thing about it is that we get those like literally all the time, like, constant. And so if we stay grounded in the body and we clear the mind, we can start to hear those little answers, and we can start to experiment with taking action on them. Now, here's the thing. Just because we hear, what it is our soul is calling us to do, or our heart is calling us to do, or what our body is calling us to do, especially coaches and healers who are those who are in this group, we don't necessarily always have the courage to actually act upon it, especially if it's so close to your soul's calling. And that's what this group is about. It's like, how do we follow our soul's calling in our work, in our relationships, in our life? If it's so close to it, right, we won't necessarily have the courage to take action. I'm not saying that always happens, but sometimes it does. And it is this practice of listening, gaining clarity, getting grounded in the body, and kind of listening to those answers. And step number 3, this is the map, right? Step number 3 is processing emotion. Because here's the thing. When you get really close to where you want to go. So I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but like, let's say you plan a vacation, or you go to a party, you're going to go meet somebody, and you've always wanted to do this. You've always wanted to meet this person, or you've always wanted to go on this vacation, or you always wanted to go to this party that you know all these people are going to be there, and there's going to be an event, or whatever it is. But right before the party, or right before you're going, you're like, oh, you think of all the reasons why you shouldn't go. And this is very normal, because whenever we're getting and this is important tip for you guys to understand, whenever we're getting really close to where we want to go, so as a coach, as a healer, to those clients that you wanted to work with, or the money that you want to make, or the thing that you want to do here on earth, whenever you're getting closer to it, there is an amount of resistance that's going to come up. So it's like literally on the other side of the wall, where, the thing where you want to go, when you're getting super close to it, there's going to be all of your, what I call core wounds, that are going to come up to protect you. Because our core wounds are based on our not feeling like we belong, are not feeling like we're capable, not feeling like we're perfect enough, not worthy, not enough, not significant who I am here and what I have to say. So those resistances, which is good to know this, right? This is why we call this a map. It's like, it's good to know this, because those are going to come up right before you get really close to where you want to go. And this will happen over and over and over again. And here's the opportunity. We misdiagnose that, let's say, the voice that says you're not enough or you're not worthy. And we misdiagnose it. Oh, okay, that must be true. So I better not go and take action towards where I want to go. Okay, I'm not saying this always happens to you, but it sure does, if you're human. Okay, and if you're here on earth and you're trying to follow your soul's calling. So right before that, and so what happens is, it's an opportunity for you to collaborate now with that thing that is trying to protect you. Because where do those things come from? They come from past experiences that we have integrated when we were younger, right? And we created meaning around it. So, I don't know why this is the story that comes up for me the most in all of my clients, because it's so profound. But I'll tell it over and over again because it's so profound. I had a client who parents used to fight, right? And they used to fight, and so mom would kick dad out. And so dad would go outside of the house. And so then my client, being her pure self, acting her pure self, just as children do, right? They have that innocence, they have that unconditional love, which is their strength. So she decided, okay, I'm going to go outside and help dad because I love dad. And I'm going to see what he needs to love on him. And then so dad says to her, you don't love me, like go back in the house, so here she is acting from that intuition, acting from her heart, acting from her intelligent centers, just no filter. And the person who is taking care of her teaches her something unconsciously, not that it wasn't even a choice in that moment as a human. Maybe as a soul they decided this together. That's a whole other thing. But so unconsciously he tells her, like, just go back in the house. And so she's like, okay, she's confused. So then she tries to go back in the house, and the door is locked. So here it is, right? Like, it's these moments in our life, and sometimes they're very what's the word? They're very intense, and sometimes they're just smaller moments that imprint our body, our mind, and our energy, and it tells us a message. So what does our body do? Ooh, okay, it's not safe to choose where I need to go. Oh, it's not safe to tell somebody what I truly believe, right? Oh, I love you. I want to take care of you, right? It's not safe to be around people who are observing you, right? And so step number 3, processing emotion, is so important because we all have these moments in our life that imprint us in a way that protect us from they protect us from feeling that feeling of being hurt, and that feeling that, oh, if I'm myself, it's not safe. So there's in a way, it's a little bit of an intelligent way of protecting that pure part of yourself, right? But then what happens is that it gets integrated, encoded into the body, into the mind, into the energy. And then anytime something like that happens, like when we get really close to what we love or what we want in life, or who we love or what we want to do, that coding starts to get triggered. Does that make sense? So it's our opportunity, right, to now collaborate and allow that part of us to know, oh, it actually is safe now. It is safe now to move forward to where you want to go. So that's why processing emotion is so important, and that will be a lifelong thing. It will be a lifelong thing to process emotions, right? And so number 1, get grounded. Number 2, gaining clarity. And number 3, process emotion. And here's the last one that I want to mention on the map that I take all our clients through, is mastering energy. Because once we start mastering our energy in the body, in the mind, and in the emotional center, once we start mastering that energy, we can start intentionally and consciously directing it where we want to go. So it's like, often with my clients, it's an attunement, right? To balance out the mental intelligence center, the emotional heart center, and the body center. It's an attunement, and we don't necessarily, just because we do it once, stay in that attunement. So, for example, like one of the things that I always ask my clients is, like, what is the next obvious action that is most profitable for you energetically and financially, right? And very often it's something so simple like call this client, or like call those 5 clients that you already have a relationship with, and talk to them about what it is you're doing. Like, usually the answer is so simple, but what starts to happen, like what I explained, it's like, oh, you're getting really close to what you want, or who you want to work with, and the money you want to work with, the money that you want to create and make, and the difference you want to make here on earth, and that coding from the past, whatever that is for us, for you, and everyone starts to ignite. And then we have to learn how to collaborate with that. So if we learn how to master our energy through all of these techniques, then we can, okay, what is our next most obvious action? Because here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing that starts to happen. Sometimes we start to free up the energy, right? And it's not so caught up in worry or doubt and all, and then it becomes exciting because we're like, wow, okay, we have so much energy. And so what happens is sometimes we put it into creative energy again. So let's say we have a project and we know we want to work a certain way, or we want to be in a certain relationship, or we want to create something in our life. And we're very clear. We got really clear on that. We got crystal clear by gaining clarity. And then, see, here's what happens. And then after we go towards it. But as we go towards it, then all of those emotions, those unprocessed emotions start to come up. And then what we do, instead of continuing to kind of just go from A to B, we go from, let's go here before we go to there. Or let's go here, before we go to there. Let me for my clients, let me get another certification. Let me go on another healing journey. Let me get, more capable here. Let me feel like I finally belong. Let me feel like I'm finally worthy. Well, I'm finally enough. Let me feel like I have finally enough time, right? Enough money, whatever it is. Okay. I'm not capable. I'm not perfect. Let me perfect my website. I don't belong. I don't think this is this is the right milieu for me to go into. I'm not enough. There's not enough time. I don't have enough certifications. I'm not worthy. I don't think anybody's really going to pay me for this thing that I want to do. It's not possible, right? So we go all down that path. And so then what do? We take the creative energy and then we're like, let me go down a rabbit hole of research, right? So with my clients, sometimes, they'll work on the next obvious action, and then they'll get distracted because the emotions are going to come up, and then they'll, okay, I'm going to research how to create my website. And I'm going to research all of the social media platforms. And then I'm going to ask my brother and then my mother and my sister, what they think. And then all of a sudden, because you're an empath, you're taking it all in. And sometimes as empaths, it's hard for us to discern what's our energy and what's somebody else's energy. And so all of a sudden, because it feels so real in your body, if somebody says, you really should make a website before you go out there and, promote yourself in your business. And if they have all the certainty, then you feel their certainty and you feel it in their body and you're like, and then you take that on as yours. Has that ever happened? Right? It's like the typical example is if you go to a coffee shop and the barista is kind of cranky, and then all of a sudden you're cranky. You're like, they're so, because all of a sudden, as an empath, you took on somebody else's mental, emotional, and physical center as yours, and you started to confuse that with yours. And so that starts to happen. And so then we put all of the energy into creativity, thinking we're doing something. But actually, we're not going from A to B. We're just going from A, Z, D, all of these other places to get to, just go call your client tomorrow. Or just, go to that dance class. Or just, stop eating that thing, or eat more, drink more juice instead of coffee. You always want to add more instead of take away. So, So let me know if this makes sense. I can't see the comments in real time, so I'm going to have to look at them afterwards. But let's review, right? Okay, so if you want to achieve your goals as an empath, one simple map that you can understand, because if you just go at things from your mind and just go at it, you're going to, all of these kind of what I mentioned are going to come into the way. So one, get grounded in the body, because we we as human beings utilize our body to do things in the world, right? And if our body is overwhelmed and overwrought and our nervous system is overstimulated, it's very challenging to do anything and also receive anything, right? So any answers, like let's say somebody's like, well, okay, well, great, you're running a business, you're doing this, you're doing that, or you want a better relationship, or whatever it is. Oh, okay, great, just do X, Y, Z. And if you're not grounded in the body, you're not going to be able to do it or receive it. And that practice is constant. So I work with my clients on a regular basis so that we cut, and I work with myself on a regular basis to come back into the body. Like all of this information I'm giving you, I had to get grounded in the body before it came out. Otherwise, it's like I'd sort of be off into the spatial awareness of its expansion, and all my thoughts would be really in this big cloud of knowingness, but I wouldn't be able to kind of like put it here and say it to you in a linear fashion if my body and my nervous system wasn't somewhat regulated and activated. Okay, so that's what one of the techniques we do with our clients too, like, okay, if you're spinning out, right? Spinning out into so many ideas and you don't know which way to go, we must get grounded in the body, and there are many different directions, okay? Number two, and I spoke about the intelligence centers. So there's the mental center, there's the emotional heart center, and then there's the body. Okay, and so it's important to, with somatic practices, which is what I do with my clients, we can balance those centers out. Okay. Number two on the map is gain mental clarity. So it's very hard to move forward if we don't know what we want. And here's the thing. Very often, we think we know what we want, but we actually are just naming what we don't want. Okay, I want you to listen to that. Sometimes we think we know what we want by naming what we don't want. Okay, so like, oh, I just don't want to struggle with money anymore. That's what you don't want. But what do you want? Right? Do you want 10K a month? Do you want 100? Like, what is it? Do you see what I'm saying? Because it's very hard to go towards something. Like, you can't create something by running away. Like, oh, I don't want to have any problems anymore with this. And then you're going forward, but you don't know where you're going. Do you see? So it's really important to gain mental clarity so that you know what you want. And all the answers are there. If you get grounded in the body, the answers will be received. Either somebody's going to kind of give you a hint, or it's just going to, come to you in a vision, in a thought, in an idea. Okay, and so gaining mental clarity helps us hear those things. Now, just because we hear them, we don't always have the courage or the ability to move forward. Sometimes we also don't have the strategy. So once we clear the spiritual house, I talk about, then we work on the business side of things, or whatever it is you want to build. As an entrepreneur, I believe you're creating your own life. That's my definition. It's like, as an entrepreneur, you are creating your own life. And so step number 3 is processing emotion, because empaths, we have a big heart, and so we feel so deeply what is so important to us. And so sometimes it feels so important, and we sometimes get lost in the emotion, and we want so much to do what we want to do, but then all of the sort of old core wounds kind of like take our attention, and we don't know how to collaborate with that, what I call the egoic structure, right? That kind of will try to protect you by saying, oh, are you sure? You're enough of, you're worthy of that? Are you sure you have enough time for that? Are you sure that, you're capable? Are you sure, you're really worthy of all of that attention or money or love, right? Or fun or whatever it is you're bringing, or laughter, So there's this, and here's the thing about that. At the beginning, if you're paying attention to those things, they're obvious. But as you could get deeper into soul healing work, the layer and the veil of that becomes very thin, and you don't necessarily know that it is in play. So I have a client, and her dad was narcissistic. So she had this big veil of like, all men are narcissists, right? Manipulative. And so it was great because then she could like seek out anybody who's sort of like, she had that radar. And so she started to see that, and I'm like, oh, okay, wow, okay. And so you think, okay, good. So now I know I have that veil. But here's what the ego will do, right? It will put that veil on very thin as you start to become more aware of it. And it will represent itself in a more subtle way. And the way it sounds is very intellectual. Like, oh, oh, that person said this. I don't know if you should trust him. And sometimes you broad brush from that old veil of perception that everyone is manipulative. And then it's like you think you're having discernment, but really it's just another thin veil of that old layer of protection. Okay? So this is important, especially if you do a lot of soul healing work as you progress, because the intellect will think, oh yeah, of course I know that. I know, like, I'm not supposed to kind of get involved with narcissists. Oh, I know that. So I've learned that lesson, right? But then after, what happens sometimes is that layer of protection, like let's say you get into a relationship or whatever, that layer of protection will still slightly be there, right? Especially when you get close to what you want, okay? If it feels too good to be true, right? So it's important to have discernment around that and know when it's our veil and know when it's just like our really a good radar for that. Okay, so that's important because we sometimes don't realize how kind of the egoic structure works, and the egoic structure will often make decisions out of fear, and we misdiagnose it as like, oh, that's just my intelligence, or that's my my radar for that. Okay. Step number 4 is what did I say? Get grounded, gain mental clarity, process emotions, and master energy. Okay? If you're an empath and you learn how to master your energy, like, then you can start to live in this world that is simultaneously painful and simultaneously beautiful at the same time. It's not either or. It's not just painful and it's not just beautiful. It's just duality here on earth. And as an empath, if we learn how to be able to receive pain and grief in our life from that depth, right, in a way where it doesn't overwhelm our systems, which is what I teach our clients, then when it comes, we can take it in and we can even appreciate what the pain in our life is offering us. And it's almost like a chalice to be able to experience when we are in joy or bliss or laughter or fun, to fully experience it as an empath. Because if we're just overwhelmed, we're sort of kind of like getting zapped with like painful feelings or like happy feelings, and we're not settled. But because life is just naturally, we will experience pain. It's just how it is here on earth. Okay, grief, our own physical dis-ease, or our own emotional dis-ease, or our if we've lost something or someone, right? Our way of being, our way of life, right? Our community, our person in our life, we will experience pain. And as an empath, if we know how to be with that in its depth, that depth will be the alchemy to be able to really truly feel beauty in life. And so that you're not overly feeling it and you're not underly feeling it where you're just kind of numb to it all. Or you're not kind of like distracting yourself all around it. You're in the depths of your pain, you're in the depths of your beauty. Right? I have a lot of clients dealing with major illnesses right now, or the loss of a loved one, and it's not about not feeling pain, because when you lose somebody you love, that's forever. You're not. There's not going to be a moment where it doesn't hurt, but there's also possibility where it also feels so beautiful, and that beauty hold your pain. And sometimes life is just great, and moments in your life which are precious, right? They're not all the time. Life is just beautiful. And if we are not fully grounded in the body, mentally clear, and able to process our emotion, we see through different filters and we don't necessarily able to take it in when life is offering you so much joy, so much laughter, right? So mastering our energy gives us that capacity to live life fully, really fully here on earth, without needing to distract ourselves or soothe ourselves or go in these highs and lows that happen, if we are not necessarily mastering our energy. Okay? And so that's kind of like, if you were to work with me, that's what we practice. And we do it in a way that we do it based on what you're ready for, where you're at, and what your nervous system can handle. Because when you work with a coach one-on-one in a high, what do you call it? In a premium kind of space, then we go deep. So it's not just these general practices. We really go into what it is that your body, mind, and energy need. What it is that you need to heal in order to, live the most fulfilling life that you want to live. And, all of us need a container. And what we provide is a container, that somatic container, which is just means something to hold your physical vessel, but also to hold your mental clarity. Because here's the thing, as your coach, what happens is when you have mental clarity, then I hold you accountable to it. Because we all know sometimes we wanna run that 10K or eat the salad every day or journal every day or whatever it is we want to do every day, right? But if we don't have somebody to be accountable for, it's challenging, right? It's like I go weight training every week, and all of the weights that my weight trainer makes me lift, like I can do it, but I really push myself to my highest potential with my trainer. If I were just to kind of do it on my own, I'd be like, okay, 5 minutes, okay, we're good. Instead of like this hour of like, okay, constantly pushing myself to my maximum potential without hurting it. But it's like, pushing it to the maximum potential. So when you are, if you were to work with me, that's what we do. We go to the places that are not easy to go to on your own, or even not even possible, because I know, right, some of the deep healing that I've experienced, I couldn't do it on my own. Yes, I've met my teachers with my own deep depth of practice, but we don't heal alone. That's the truth. So I create this container so that we have a consistent and congruent. So congruent to what your higher self is projecting, what your clarity is projecting, right? And then strategically taking actions that suit your nervous system. Because here's the thing, I can tell you everything you need to do like tomorrow, but if your nervous system and your systems are not settled enough to take the courage to take the action, or you still have more things to process emotionally, then it's not going to happen. So we have to kind of work in a way where it's like, let's meet where you're at, but also let's push you just slightly outside of your comfort zone to get to where you want to go. Does that make sense? And we all know that our good teachers will always, like, we can do so much stuff on our own, which is a great base, but to actually kind of really get to the vision, which is always bigger, and it's always at our highest potential, right? So our soul always sees us in our highest potential. So that means that is not something that we know today. That is something that we have the hope and the faith of, like, oh, okay, there's my highest potential, right? And only you know that truth. And I'm not saying you have to push yourself further than wherever you want to go, but know what's pushing you. Is it just your egoic structure holding you back and keeping you safe? Or is it your soul's calling that says, I see this possibility and this potential. Let's go, right? So as your coach, that's what we do. Let's go and make it happen, right? In real time. So sometimes what happens in a coaching session, and what is it? It collapses time. Something that you've been struggling with for years and years and years, it collapses time. Something like, oh, in your business, like, oh gosh, I don't know how to do this, blah, blah, blah. Let's just take this one strategy. And as an empath, I always give you the most profitable action in your business and in your life energetically. So that, oh, you're just doing that. So that we stay focused on, like, that's the next most obvious action. I'm not going to give you the 10 lists of things to do because it's just too much and you won't do it. And so we also want to do what is going to create the domino effect for everything else to lessen or go away. And that's what strategic coaching is, right? So in a premium space, in a high ticket environment, we're both invested in the outcome, right? And so it collapses time. So we don't spend years and years and years. Like, I had a client who literally, he could not wake up in the morning because he was sort of overwhelmed with depression. There was actually, he had 3 deaths in the family, all consecutively in a year. And so it just overwhelmed his whole system, right? With grief and just worry and just the emotion was just so much to bear. And so he could barely wake up in the morning, and his kids had to help him, like, change, and his wife had to do, like, all the extra work driving the kids to school. Okay, it happens, right? And so he called out for help because in that moment he knew he needed the help. And maybe you're not there. Maybe there's another, like, you're sort of in a space where you're like, oh, I got myself here, let me get myself there, right? Maybe you're not in that kind of, like, rock bottom. Sometimes you're just like, oh, I'm just here and I'm sort of stuck in the middle, right? But instead of spending, because he spent, like, all this time on the nurses and books and all of these things, trying to figure out how to, like, kind of get himself back into a space where he can function. And then literally in the first call, he was having an anxiety attack, and literally in the first call, we were able to get grounded and see a little bit more clearly. And then as we continued to work together, he was able to play with his kids. So what is that for you, right? What is that vision for you? What is the next step for you that you see is possible, right? And if you want a container that holds your physical temple, your body, takes care of it, processes all the emotions and heals all of the deep core wounds that we are not able to heal by themselves, learn how to have this, like, very agile mind that is clear, right? So that it can kind of hear what it needs to hear and then take action, and then know how to take energy and really put it and direct it to where you want to go, so that you can create the life that you dream of, because that's what it is. It's a dream, right? That's why we call it a dream. It's a dream because we see it and we know it's possible. We know it's there in our heart, right? We know our soul is calling us, right? So if you want that, right, then DM me and let me know, Jamie, I'm ready for a breakthrough yoga coaching call. And on that call, we're going to start the deep work right away. We're going to see where it is stuck in the physical body, in the mind, and in your energetic systems, right? So that's kind of like the domino effect, the thing that like, it's like this push pull, like the thing like, I know I want to go there, but I can't, right? So that's the work that happens if you were to work with me. And again, I have my own coaches and I do this work with other people. And that's just how we function as human beings. We can't, it's hard to move to that soul level on our own because we are a collective, right? So you can DM me and let me know I'm ready for a breakthrough yoga coaching call. And on that call, get right into it, into that deep work. And then we can create, the strategic, plan for where to go. And I can talk to you about how, I can move you through the program of collapsing time, right? That I've done with so many other clients. So that is it. I hope this was helpful. I hope this map was helpful. I hope there was insights. Let me know your biggest takeaway, because I feel like if you are highly sensitive, empathic, intuitive person, there's something here that has resonated with you. So I want to hear it. I want to hear maybe that insight, that like, ooh, that light bulb moment that came for you, because that's how it starts, right? It's like, oh, right, your own wisdom. And that's what I'm always working with you. I'm working with your wisdom. I'm not trying to give you something that you are not already knowing. So I want to just reflect that back to you, and then to take your hand and say, okay, let's go do the next step, right? And this is how we do it, spiritually and strategically. And that's it. So thank you so much for your presence. I appreciate you so much. And I will see you next week, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, for our deep dive trainings. And look out, I'm doing a 3-day live somatic pathway, 3 days to achieving your goals. Look out for that. It's free. It's going to be interactive, and it's going to set you up for, your continuation of this 2024. And the energy in this 2024 is there's new energy, right? And so as empaths, we're feeling that. And if we are not able to receive that, it can be overwhelming. So let me know if you're interested in that. I can send you the information. Otherwise, DM me and let me know you're ready for a breakthrough yoga coaching call. And I will see you next week, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much for your presence. Love you guys. Bye.